What's going on? Welcome to another live edition of Real Fans, Real Talk. I know it's a Monday night. We know it's a Monday night. Sometimes we be having things we got to do and we got to take care of business. But we are back Monday night, just before the Monday night game. We're gonna be here for about an hour because we both want to see this game tonight. But before we jump into that big heavyweight knockdown that went down the other night, and a couple of more things that's going on in the sports world, let me introduce my co-host, my brother, the one and only Eric Sanchez, aka Legend in Two Games. What's going on, man?
What's really good, bro? Another exciting NFL week. The NBA is back in full effect. Trip, you said boxing. Today, I believe, is also what they call a sports equinox, right? Because we got baseball,
That's right. That's
football, basketball, and hockey all at the same
right.
time. So, an amazing night to get into all these topics.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Let me shout out the supporters really quick, man. Shout out to y'all. We seen the comments was going crazy early on. We appreciate y'all for rocking with us. Let me shout out James Brown, first one in the chat this week. I gotta shout him out. He been rocking with us heavy for the past couple of weeks. So big shout out to you. We definitely gonna get into that Kansas City loss because that was a big loss for Kansas City to go down to. And I know it's they play each other a little bit more often, but and I don't think it's ever an excuse to lose to this Denver Broncos team. So we definitely gonna get into to that as well. Um NFL though, big weekend in the sports world. Another big injury, another big trade went down. We gonna start here in New York. I know y'all see the Giants hat in the back. They I texted Eric earlier. I said, Eric, I think my Giants are in tank mode right now. After they traded Leonard Williams, they got a second round pick in the 2024 draft and a fifth in the 2025 draft. Eric, we both kind of agreed it was about that time. But when you saw this, were you surprised at the timing? And do you think there's going to be more to come?
There will be more to come. I was not surprised at all. The Giants, who are 2-6 right now, have not been able to replicate what they were able to do last year when they made the playoffs and even won a playoff game. Daniel Jones has been out a few weeks. Saquon has been a little banged up. Now, you trade away one of your better defensive players because it is time to go into rebuild mode. And there are going to be a lot of questions. We talked about it a couple weeks ago, Trip. If the Giants are in position, do you trade? I mean, do you trade up or even possibly draft a quarterback high in the first round? Now that becomes a little bit more of a reality now at 2-6. So if you're the Giants, this is the right move to make. There's no reason to hold on to guys that you know can't help you right now and probably can't help you next year because this is probably going to be a 2-year rebuild.
Exactly. Love Leonard Williams. Great lineman. But yeah, at this point, that was a bad loss to the Jets. I mean, both New York teams were horrible in that game from the start. Obviously, I love how Thibodeau started off the game with the sack fumble. But there were so many errors from both teams in that game. It was really it wa- it was a good game, but only because both teams were so bad.
It,
It
it
was
was it was a competitive game. That's probably a
yeah,
better way to put it. Yeah.
there you go. There you go. But yeah, I think it's time. Losing Daniel Jones for the time that he's gone, and like you said, Saquon being in and out of the lineup, it's not helping them in the wins column. And then now you just lost Tyrod Taylor too. I'm not even sure how long, but he went out in yesterday's game as well. So yeah, you got two big names in this upcoming draft. That and Eric, I've been talking about both of these guys for the past couple of months. You got Caleb Williams and you have Marvin Harrison Jr. I would love to get either one of those guys in this draft. So if you're the Giants, listen, I'm okay with that. I I still believe in Brian Daboll. I think with some better players, he'll be able to do a lot better. And those two guys that I just named are future franchise caliber players. So if we got to take some bangs and bruises this season and get beat down so that we can make it to the bottom of that draft order and get one of those two guys, hey, it is what it is. That's football, these days.
Yeah, this is what it's gonna be. We applauded Brian Daboll last year for the job he did. Remember, he took over a team that was in shambles, and he got the best out of Daniel Jones. He had Saquon looking back to the form that we all expect him to be. But this is probably closer to who the Jets are, and I don't even know if even if they have won yesterday, Trip. I don't know if you still don't make this trade If
Yeah.
they had won yesterday, let's be honest. Granted, Tyrod goes down. You got to bring in the third string quarterback and Tommy DeVito. The Giants almost won yesterday with -8 passing yards. Like that doesn't scream a true competitor or contender. That screams like, man, we got by because our defense did enough to win this game for us. So I think the Giants might have explored this trade anyway, but the loss yesterday kind of solidified. 2-6, you're definitely not winning the division. You're not making a wild card spot. You know, you would have to right now. You would literally have to run the table to get into the playoff spot. Like you only can be afforded probably 2 more losses to make the playoffs, and this team ain't good enough to win 8 of their last 10 games, 8 of their last 11. They're not good enough.
Yeah, exactly. Guys, I see y'all in the comments. Don't worry. We
Shout
definitely gonna
out,
get to
man.
basketball. All right, just keep them coming in. We're gonna get to all of those comments. Shout out to Hoopballer Scoop as well, because we saw one of your posts, and I wanted us to talk about it on the show. So big shout out to you. We're gonna get into that because I know last time you had asked us one of the questions that you posted, and since I saw it this week, I said I wasn't gonna even comment on your post. I was gonna wait so that we could ask, we could talk about it here on the show. But let's get to that Kansas City Denver game. Big shout out to
Mhm.
James Brown, the game first in the chat. Kansas City lost to Denver, something or nothing. It's definitely something. Even though again, Denver's not a team that's gonna even sniff the playoffs this season, but it's a marker for the Kansas City Chiefs that says, okay, it's time for you to start asking around and seeing what wide receivers are available because you need someone else other than Travis Kelsey. Because once the Taylor Swift magic goes out of the window and you have a game where it's a regular game and not a super Herculean game, the Chiefs are going to be in trouble. And today, it would yesterday it was a situation where Pacheco didn't have his strongest game. He's been a big boost for them. Travis Kelsey didn't put up over 150 yards again this week, and now the Chiefs look really regular. So I do think it's something because they're going to have to address that receiver issue very soon.
Yeah, so I'm not too concerned with the loss, and here's why. Shout out to James Brown because he checked in on Friday night as well during Friday Night Live. As I mentioned Friday night, one of the things we've already experienced in this NFL season, specifically the last 3 weeks, are division rivals who are home underdogs. Not only have they been covering the spread, they've been winning outright. The Giants did it last week when they had the Commanders. So what we're noticing is obviously there's a pride aspect to it, but for the Chiefs, this was the prototypical trap game trip because they go to Germany next week to play Miami, which was already going to be a highly publicized and highly promoted game. So they were leaving straight from Denver to go over to Europe. Then we get the news that the weather was going to be really bad and that there was snow in the forecast, which they got a little bit of. Then we got the news on Saturday that Mahomes had been battling the flu. So all those factors to me feel like, all right, maybe the Chiefs would just do. It was just bad timing all around. And with all that being said, I think if McCole Hardman does not fumble that punt, the Chiefs probably had a legitimate chance to go down the field and score and win this game because the Broncos offense hadn't done anything in the second half of that game. Sky Moore's got to catch that touchdown towards the end of the game. The Chiefs got to play a cleaner game there because they had some bad turnovers early. But with all that being said, with the flu, with bad weather, with the trap game aspect, the Chiefs had a moment to win this game. Their receivers have to be better. Travis Kelsey does need to give them a little bit more production, but it's nothing, man. I think the Chiefs bounce back next week and they'll be fine.
And it's not going to be an easy game to bounce back
No, it's not.
from. I Again, when you have Patrick Mahomes, I'm always going to give you a boost and a chance to win games, but it, that offense in Miami, man, is something special. They, even with Shane out, that offense is still pulling, and they're still the fastest offense overall in football with Waddle and Tyreek Hill and Mostert still out there balling. Tua is back to what we saw before all of the concussions last season, which I'm happy for him about. And you know, even though I have complimented the Chiefs defense on being a lot better than they've been, the past like 2 years, I don't know if it's enough to necessarily beat a hot Miami team right now.
I mean, Miami, we're gonna have the same discussion that we had previously. Tua's got to show that he can beat a winning team. He hasn't shown it yet. and their 2 losses this year have been against really good teams. So I expect the Chiefs to bounce back from the aspect of, again, you're not getting Mahomes with the flu. You're not getting them in the snow.
Yeah,
For Miami, this Chief defense is really good. The Chiefs still have not given up more than 21 points a game this year. And again, really 7 of that wasn't even on their defense. McCole Hardman has the fumble deep in their own territory, and the Broncos capitalized. But other than that, this Chief defense is really good. So this is still a really good defense that Tua is going to have to figure out. I expect Andy Reid to game plan better for this one. I expect to see a heavy dose of Pacheco. I thought they should have gone more Pacheco yesterday as well. So I still trust Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelsey more than I can trust Mike McDaniels, Tua, and Tyreek. And I know we're going to get to Tyreek in a little bit. Shout out to Will Gordon. Will, I see your comment. I'm following your lead, bro. Will got one of the sickest hat games in the business. So we following your lead, bro.
facts. Let me see. Let me just make sure. Hold up. Let me go to this question since we were talking Tua.
Let's get to it.
Who's been the Dolphins MVP, Tua or Tyreek? I'm gonna say it's co-MVP. Just because I know Tyreek Hill is having an MVP season, but it's not like he's putting up 160. He almost might have put up 150 yards receiving every week. Again, Jalen Waddle led the team in receiving yards this past Sunday. So I'm gonna say it's Cole because at the end of the day, Tua still has to do his job and get the football to Tyreek Hill. Obviously, with that cheetah speed, once he gets the ball, he can make magic happen. But Tua, is dropping dimes out there. He's connecting with the receivers, with the running backs. So I don't want to just kind of not give Tua his props right now too, because he's actually been playing really well and he should be in the MVP conversation.
My fault. I was on mute. I think Tua has played well, but I think it's more about Tyreek. Tyreek, again, shout out to Will Gordon because Will Gordon has been saying this for a while. He is the ultimate cheat code. But what Tyreek is doing to defenses, go back and look at the Tua fourth quarter touchdown to Jalen Waddle. They put Tyreek in motion, and Tyreek streaks up the field, and immediately 3 defenders run with Tyreek, and Waddle is literally wide open coming across the field for
Yeah.
the easiest touchdown he'll probably have in his career. It's the easiest read that Tua can make because you got a guy coming across, streaking right across the field who's completely wide open because the safety, the corner, the slot corner all run with Tyreek. So I think it's Tyreek. If you take him out of this offense, I don't know if they're able to put up this type of production. I don't think you see the same running lanes without Tyreek on the field. I don't think you see the same pass production. If you take Tua out of it and you put another solid quarterback, we're not talking the Mahomes of the world, but if you were to put Kirk Cousins with this offense, I think they still explosive, right? So that's the difference. You can't just take an average receiver and get what Tyreek gives you, but I think you can put an average quarterback and still get really good numbers.
Crazy thing is, when was the last time Tyreek Hill had an average quarterback?
Never. Alex Smith when he first
All right.
was
Yeah.
drafted to the Chiefs, Alex Smith. And Alex
Okay.
Smith was a good veteran. He just wasn't, Patrick Mahomes.
Exactly.
He wasn't Patrick Mahomes.
Exactly. I'm gonna jump down a little bit. Shout out to Will Gordon. How did they let Tyreek walk? Money. Can't pay everybody. Uh, I mean, you gave Mahomes 500 million. Kelsey got his new deal. Remember, Honey Badger had to go too. I would have loved for them to still had been able to keep Honey Badger, but you just can't afford to sign everybody. And I guess they figured they could draft another receiver or maybe get another receiver in the trade. Obviously, Tyreek Hills don't just come along every day, so I'm not suggesting that. But that tight end position becomes so key. If you there's and Eric, because because you play fantasy football as well, there's maybe 3 tight ends in the league that can get you some consistency when it comes to fantasy sports, and that's because the tight end position is very slim pickings. You pretty much comes down to Travis Kelsey, Mark Andrews, and George Kittle, depending on what type of day Brock Purdy is having. Outside of that, maybe you drop down a tier a little bit in TJ Hawkinson if
Hmm.
who's good, but there's not 10 all pro tight ends in this league.
No.
You know what I mean? So I guess and there's not even we just talking about just receivers, period, that can do what Travis Kelsey can do. So you got to keep Travis Kelsey. I'm sure if they had the money to do it, they would have kept Tyreek Hill, but they did get a nice return for him, and that's what's led to the defense actually being as good as they've been.
Yeah, I think I'm sure they didn't want to let Tyreek walk, but the price tag was just too high. And we got to remember too, those last two playoff losses with Tyreek kind of felt like the league was catching up to them because the way that the Bucks dominated them in the Super Bowl, and limiting Tyreek's big playability, and then the way that the Bengals kind of limited Tyreek's big playability in that AFC Championship game, the Chiefs felt that they needed to be a little more balanced. And so bouncing back to get a little more depth on that roster, the running game with Pacheco, the defense, those young corners, they needed more balance. So they would love to have Tyreek. Obviously, it's easy to say right now, oh, they're missing what Tyreek produces because who doesn't? I mean, the guy's got 1,000 yards after 8 games. So they would love to have him, right? But they needed more balance to sustain this championship window. And ultimately, I think they did the right thing because they lose Tyreek and they still win the Super Bowl. So they figured that part out and it's worked out for them.
Yeah, I mean you can't deny that. You won a Super Bowl without the guy who was making the case that he's the best wide receiver in football again, this season, and you still can win a Super Bowl. It says a lot about the two guys that you kept in Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelsey, as well as Andy Reid being one of the greatest coaches to coach this game. It speaks volumes. So obviously, again, who wouldn't want to have Tyreek Hill on the team? But obviously, it's football. There's a salary cap. It ain't like baseball. It ain't like the Yankees just get whoever they want.
Yeah.
It's football. It's a different ball game.
Let's not talk baseball because both our teams did not have a great year. I know it's
At
World
all.
Series time, but we were expecting one of our teams to be here and they're not. So I don't even want to talk baseball.
It hurts still. It hurts still. Let's go to Kevin. Shout out to Kevin Ford. Cowboys improved to 5-2 with 43-21 over the Rams. Was this an A game from Dallas, or was this a DF game for the Rams? You know what I mean? Because the Rams were pretty bad that game. They couldn't get anything going offensively. Cooper Cup, who had looked amazing the last 2 weeks in his return. What's the other kid? Puka Nuka. What's his name? Is that his name?
Puka Nakua.
Puka Nakua. Excuse me. Respectfully, my brother. Didn't have the best of games. He's been balling for the Rams. The past 2 weeks, and Dallas looked good, but I mean the Rams don't have no real legitimate secondary, and CeeDee Lamb just did whatever he wanted out there. Hopefully the Cowboys learn and start throwing the ball to CeeDee Lamb a little bit more as opposed to the other guys who's not doing anything. Brandon Cooks was supposed to be like their big wide receiver pickup. He started off the season injured. He hasn't done much of anything. Michael Gallup, who everybody kept to, he's once he comes back from the injury and he's healthy and he's good, he's gonna be, doing and neither one of them is doing nothing. It's pretty much coming down to CeeDee Lamb. He's pretty much been their lone receiver since Amari Cooper was there, and they had that dynamic duo during, I would say, Dak Prescott's best season, with probably the season that got him that 42 million a year contract that he has. So I don't know if it's necessarily an A game from Dallas. A game from Dallas, I would say if you did this a couple of weeks ago when you played the 49ers, that would have been an A game. If you put up a performance like this against the Eagles, that'll be an A game. But you got to do that against a top tier team just because they've we've seen them a couple of times this season look pretty bad, and you know what I mean. So you got to do more than that. I don't think it's
It's
an A
not
game.
Yeah, it's not an A game. For some of the reasons you mentioned, Dallas running game wasn't that strong yesterday.
Mhm.
Um, you, Will Gordon, and myself all thought that Tony Pollard was ready to take that next step. He hasn't shown that yet. So they need
Nope.
more out of the running game. The second part of that is Stafford left this game late in the third quarter. So you got to play against Mark Rippon for a quarter. No disrespect to Mark Rippon. You're in the league, but you are not a starting NFL quarterback. So there's that. And then also, this game really flipped with the pick six right before halftime. This game was 10-3 going into half. I know
Yeah.
it's easy to say, oh, the Cowboys put up 43 points. They were only up 10-3 with 30 seconds to go in the first half. and the Rams throw a really bad pick six that makes it 17-3, and then the Cowboys double down and get a safety in the third quarter, make it 19-3, and then at that point it's over because, as you mentioned, the Rams are limited on offense. The good parts for the Cowboys is CD got going, Dak didn't turn the ball over, and they were able to limit the two Ram receivers because Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp, I think, combined for only 7 catches yesterday. Coming
Yeah, it
into
was.
this game, Puka had been averaging about 10 catches by himself. So that part of it, if you're the Cowboys, you say, all right, we build on that. But some of the other aspects, again, 10-3 against a Ram team that is pretty limited, isn't
Yeah,
great. Running for only 102 yards against that team isn't great. And then again, you kind of beat up on a backup quarterback for a quarter and a little bit more than a quarter. So they could be better.
yeah, and Cooper Cup, man, you messed up some tickets, buddy. Get it together next week.
It always about the tickets.
It always comes down to the tickets, man. No, man. Shout out to Cooper Cup, man. All right, let's go to Ron Charles's question. Eagles deserve to be Super Bowl favorites. Uh, maybe. I'm gonna say maybe. The reason I say maybe is because they haven't really impressed me this season. They've been winning ugly this season a lot. They struggled against teams that they shouldn't be struggling against. Um, so I'm not gonna say definite. I think they're a Super Bowl contender, and I think they'll be in the NFC championship game against the 49ers again this season. But I don't know if I'm ready to say just yet they're the favorites for the Super Bowl, because eventually the San Francisco 49ers are going to be healthy. uh you know Trent Williams is going to be back protecting Brock Purdy again. Debo will be back at some point. And then I think it's a 50-50 chance. If both these teams are healthy, I think either one of them can win.
So I'll respond this way, Ron. Shout out to Ron as well. Um, who's been more consistent than the Eagles? There have been so many teams that have been inconsistent this year that I think you have to kind of say the Eagles are deserving to be the favorites because they've been the most consistent. Aside from the one hiccup against the Jets, um, and we know that's a really good defense. The Eagles have done what they needed to do. Now, it hasn't always been pretty. They're not hitting the explosive plays the way they did last year. They're not dominating defensively the way they did last year. But in terms of consistency, they've been the one team that week in, week out, you can pretty much chalk them in as a victory and you know it's going to happen. So I think it has to be the Eagles. Um, I love the 49ers, but Brock Purdy, the last couple of weeks, has not looked good at all. And I know it's not all his fault. They had some drops yesterday. Granted, they're a little banged up offensively, no Debo, but this is still a team that we thought was going to be way more dominant defensively. And that part I haven't really seen from the 49ers. I just haven't seen the dominance from them. So for me, the 49ers, there's still a lot of show and prove left, specifically with Brock Purdy, but overall with that team as a whole. As great as they've looked overall in terms of record and winning games, and yeah, they put up big numbers against bad teams, they still got to show me a little bit more. They still got to show me a little bit more. They got to be a little bit more consistent. So I like the Eagles a little bit more than the 49ers and everyone else in the NFC. And in the AFC, if we're gonna say who's the best team in the AFC, maybe Kansas City. I know they took a loss yesterday, but maybe Kansas City. And if you're gonna say Kansas City and Eagles are the best two teams, then the Eagles to me are deserving to be the favorites.
So let me. All right. So again, I do want to stress how important it is when your starting left tackle goes down, and he's one of the
Hmm.
best in the league. That's a big loss for them. One of those losses, they lost Debo and McCaffrey went down in the same game with Trent Williams. So they need to get back healthy. The other parts of that is because the offense has been so banged up. Now the defense is overexerted. They're tired. They're on the field for a lot longer than they normally would be. So that's why I don't want. I'm not going to rush just yet to judge the 49ers, because again, they looked completely different when they were fully healthy. The first half to the start of this season, and then excuse me, on the other side to that with the Eagles, we haven't really seen them get to the thick of the schedule just yet. The Miami game was a good measuring stick. But right now, you got coming up, you got Dallas, Kansas City, Buffalo, San Fran, Dallas again, and then Seattle. That's 7 straight games with playoff caliber teams, and a couple of those games are with teams that are Super Bowl contenders. So let me see how they do for this next 7 games, because prior to this, you know, Tampa Bay, Washington, and the last game against Washington, both games against Washington, really. And I know those are divisional games, but they struggled with both of
Mhm.
those games. They lost to the Jets. The Rams, they 23-14, and I believe that was before Cooper Cup came back. The game that they
Correct.
played
That yeah,
against.
nope, yep, no Cooper Cup in that one.
Yeah, so I just need to see a little bit more on the resume this season from the tougher part of the schedule before I just jump. Because again, I do have the Eagles as a Super Bowl contender. I don't want to say they're the favorites just yet, just because of the strength of schedule. They go in this set. If they come out of this 7 game stretch 5-2, hands down, they're the favorites to win the Super Bowl.
And
But
that's fair.
anything less than that, I think is still up in the air.
That's fair. And Will Gordon made a great point in the comment section when he said the defense is super overrated. The defense has not played well. Let's call it what it is. For all the hype around this defensive line and their ability to get to the quarterback, the defense has not played well at all. Darius Slay went out yesterday, but even without him going out, the secondary looks old.
Yes, really.
Bradbury got torched on a play yesterday by McLaurin, and Sam Howell underthrew it a little bit and made it a little closer than what it was. But he was beat by a good 5 yards. So the defense as a whole needs to be better. I think this happens sometimes when you're a young team and you have to play with expectations. The Eagles skyrocketed last year. They came out of nowhere. They dominate. They get to the Super Bowl, and then everybody immediately is anointing them. Oh, Hurts is going to be the MVP. Oh, this defense is unstoppable. This defense is going to get so much pressure on the quarterback, and they got so many guys they could rotate in and out on defense. And look at all the Pro Bowlers, and both their cornerbacks were rated top 10 in the NFL, and all these great things. And then now that they got to play the game, and they are everyone's Super Bowl. Let's call it what it is. You were in the Super Bowl last year. So every time we play you, we're gonna treat you like you're our Super Bowl. They haven't they haven't wowed us, but they found a way to win the games when they're supposed to. And it's hard for me to be mad at 7-1, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're 7-1. I can't be mad at that.
Yeah, because again, like you say, Eric, you can only play who's in front of you.
Right. That's it.
You have to do what you got to do. So I definitely get it. Let me see what's next. So shout out to Imani. We don't worry, we're gonna get to the messy, petty topics of the show a little bit later on. We got you. Don't worry. We're gonna talk about that. I see you. I see you down there in the comments. Let me go back to Ron again. Do the 49ers have a QB problem? I think it's too early to call, because I just read that Purdy should be able to go this week. I mean, a little bit of depth is always good, and now that you've already, Jimmy G's not there, you traded Trey Lance to the Cowboys earlier this season. We saw what happened last year in that championship game when they were down to Christian McCaffrey playing quarterback. So some depth would be nice, but I mean, everybody's got to stay healthy. So I think out of all of the teams that are legitimate Super Bowl contenders, if any of those starting quarterbacks went down, it'd be a long season for those teams
I think they do have
based
a
off the
Q.
backups that they have.
Right. And that's, I think, with most teams, if you got to play your backup for an extended period of time, it's going to be a long season. But
Yeah,
for the 49ers, they do have a quarterback problem. This is why some people were scared of, myself included, was scared to say they were the best team in the NFC, because when you compare what they have at that position, and if it comes down to Brock Purdy, can he win the games? He's shown us that he struggled. To me, the interceptions yesterday were really, really bad. Like, a couple of them that he threw, I mean, he stared down the receiver to the point where the receiver ran the route better the corner or the linebacker ran the route better than the receiver. So they do have a quarterback problem. More importantly, though, they traded a lot of draft capital to get Trey Lance, and then they never really gave Trey Lance a shot. Whatever happened in that building, we don't know, but it never really materialized there. And now you're stuck with Brock Purdy. You let go of Jimmy G, you traded Trey Lance, and now you're stuck with Brock Purdy. It has to work now. If it doesn't work now, when you look at all the money they've spread out around this offense, they are probably a season away from making some significant cuts and trades to stay under the cap because you got McCaffrey, who's a top 5 paid running back. You got Kittle, who's a top 5 paid tight end. You got Trent Williams, who's a top 5 paid O lineman. Bosa, top 5 paid D lineman. You got Debo, top 5 paid receiver. You got top 5 money across the board, and you've been able to skate by because you had a quarterback on a rookie contract. But if it can't work with Purdy, there's only but so long you can keep running this back. You got to upgrade that position to take advantage of all the talent. So I will say it's a problem. Brock Purdy's got a few weeks to kind of figure this thing out. I really like Kyle Shanahan. I think he will try to implement a game plan. Yes, I know, Trip, they got to get healthy. You got to get Debo back. You want Trent Williams to be 100%. But even with all that, your quarterback still got to be able to make better reads than he did yesterday against the Bengals. That game got away from it. That game wasn't competitive in the fourth quarter. The Bengals were just dominating them in the fourth quarter.
Yeah. Yeah. Brock Purdy definitely has to step his game up. If the 49ers are going to have a chance, and he has to step up in the times when they need it most. And right now is where they need it most because you are missing Debo. You are missing your starting left tackle and Trent Williams. So you got to compensate as I guess, what you're supposed to be the head of the team, the quarterback position. So you have to compensate for those losses. I mean, we talk about this with Patrick Mahomes every year, not comparing him to Patrick Mahomes, but I'm just saying as far as losing receivers and still doing what he has to do. You know what I mean? You have to compensate when one of your guys goes down. We shall see. Uh Kyrie Thompson, what's going on, man? Bengals improved to 4-3. Time to take the Bengals seriously. I mean, I think it was always time to take them seriously because they're a good football team that not too far removed from making a Super Bowl. Um, Now I wasn't with all of the Joe Burrow's better than Mahomes talk coming into this season. I wasn't with all of that, but Joe Burrow is still, I believe, top three, maybe even top two quarterback in the NFL. So if you have a guy like that, and you have a guy who has done very well for me in fantasy football this season, like Jamar Chase. And then you could throw in, we also got T. Higgins out there. We got Joe Mixon. We got Tyler Boyd. We got a hell of a receiver running back combination going for ourselves there. Solid defense. You know, and Joe Burrow is a guy that can win games. He can compensate for a receiver not being around. He's one of those quarterbacks that can compensate and step up to the task. And now we're seeing them starting to heat up. Same way like last season. It's again with every other team, it's just gonna boil down to health. But yeah, we should be keeping our eyes on the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah, this is one of the games I talked about on Friday night, man. Shout out to Will Gordon, shout out to Vernon Brown Lee. I had the Bengals winning this game. They were underdogs. They were getting 5.5 points. I liked them. I loved them in this spot. Joe Burrow, the first 3 weeks of the season, he was a little hurt. We know that. He needed to get himself together. But Joe Burrow is a legitimate, like one of them primetime money guys in this league. He's one of them guys that if you need to win, he's on that short list of guys you want playing quarterback for you. And more importantly, this Bengals defense is starting to figure it out because you mentioned Jamar Chase. Since he made those comments, Trip, about being wide open, they're 3-0, right? They're 3-0. The offense has been clicking, but more importantly, the defense has been going. Last 3 weeks, the defense has given up 20 points, 17 points, 13 points. So they getting it going defensively as well. Next week is the big test for the Bengals. We're all going to be locked in. It's the Sunday night game. They get the Buffalo Bills. We already know the shameless marketing that the NFL is going to put on this because when they were supposed to play last year in prime time, it was the unfortunate night of the Damar Hamlin situation. But aside from that, when they played in the playoffs, the Bengals beat the ish out of the Bills.
Yeah,
So if the Bills are taking this personal and the Bengals come out and ready to play next week, we're gonna really get a good gauge, Kyrie, on who this Bengals team is next week because that should be a very personal game for the Bills.
absolutely. And I just want to take, two out of those three games since Jamar Chase made those comments are contending teams. With the 49ers, obviously a little bit banged up, but still a team that we had as a favorite to, to make it to a championship game, at least if not go to a Super Bowl. Seahawks, a legitimate playoff team. And they win. Obviously, the Cardinals horrible right now, But at least they got rid of your man Kingsbury, though, right? Right, Eric. I know you're happy about that.
One of the worst NFL coaches of the last 10 years, Cliff Kingsbury. But
Yes.
I'm telling y'all, man, pay attention to Seattle. This is a very good athletic defense. They're getting back the Legion of Boom. With those young dudes, with Warland and with Witherspoon in that secondary, they are getting back the Legion of Boom. This is a team to pay attention to. Geno is the weak spot there. We know that. They got the running game with Kenneth Walker. They got the receivers. You saw Smith and Jogba yesterday scored a winning touchdown. They got the pieces. Geno is going to be the difference. And if this team could take that next step, the Seahawks are very, very good, though.
Facts. Shout out to one of the original members of the Legion of Boom, Legion the and past guest Walter Thurman, Super Bowl champion Walter Thurman. Big shout out to him, past guest on the show. If y'all haven't already,
That's
go
a
check
fact.
out that interview.
And shout out to Walter Thurman. I put the challenge out there, Trip. I told him if I could run a route and get a pass against him, he got to give me the Super Bowl ring. He never accepted the challenge. I'm just throwing that out there, Trip. I put the challenge out there. I said, we line up. I'll get to run one route. If I get open, you got to give me the ring. He didn't want to acknowledge it. But now, shout out to him, though.
You good? I listen. I would prefer that challenge as opposed to one of our previous hosts
That.
who wanted to ring with Justin Biggs. So I'll accept that one.
Listen, my whole thinking is I just got to get a slant and I got to keep him on my hip. If I get a slant route and keep him on my hip, I think I can make the play. That's all I need. But if I could add the Super Bowl ring and Justin Biggs keep letting me rock the title the way he did, come on, Trip. Who else messing with me? Ain't nobody messing with me.
You got it, bro. You got it. Oh my goodness. I'm gonna take one more football and then we're gonna get over to the NBA because I know y'all ready to talk basketball. Jags, contenders or pretenders in the AFC? Contenders. Trevor Lawrence is hurt right now. That he's dealing with a little bit of a knee situation, and Jacksonville continues to find ways to win football games. Um, each week is somebody different, with the consistency being Travis Etienne Jr. at running back and what he's been able to do this season. And then we'll have the big game from Calvin Ridley. Then it'll be Christian Kirk. Then Evan Ingram will step up. So they've been able to find different guys to get the job done each week. This is a team that made it to the playoffs last season, got a win in the playoffs. And we're talking about a younger team with a very talented quarterback in Trevor Lawrence, who once he's back healthy to 100%, and they can really start getting that chemistry going, Jacksonville's going to be a little bit of a problem. So be on the lookout for them too.
They are contenders. They were one of the teams I talked about as a sleeper that nobody was going to really pay attention to, but that they could come out of the AFC. And my whole thinking behind it was easy division, easiest path to being the number one seed in the AFC and make everybody come through them. Pause. They're 6-2 right now, Trip. But more importantly, the defense has played very well. They had a good performance against the Bills this year. They had a good performance against the Chiefs this year. And then they dominated. I know Pittsburgh's offense isn't explosive, but they dominated Pittsburgh yesterday as well. They got a big game coming up against the Niners next week. But the biggest thing for the the Jaguars, is that they have their biggest games at home because they got the Niners at home. They got the Bengals at home as well. Those are the two biggest games the rest of the season. So there's a legitimate chance that this team wins 12 games and possibly has the number one overall seed.
Yeah. Low key, they just won 5 straight. They just won 5 straight. They got a big game coming up this week though against the 49ers. They are at home, so I think that's gonna help them out. And depending on who's playing for San Fran, either way, it's gonna be a tough game. But I think they're gonna make some noise. I said it at the end of last season. They went on a nice run to end the season. Obviously, after that the wild card win, they went home the next round. But I mean, it's no slight to you to say I lost to the Super Bowl champion, 2-time MVP, 2-time Super Bowl MVP, Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Andy Reid and those guys. There's no shame in that. But they are back. They've got a little bit of experience, a little bit of playoff experience. They've gotten healthier. They have a legitimate number one wide receiver plus two other really good wide receivers. They have one of the better tight ends in football with Evan Ingram, who's found new life playing in Jacksonville with a really good quarterback in Trevor Lawrence. The defense is solid. I like what I'm seeing right now, and I think they're going to continue to build on this and make a nice little playoff push. I think it's possible they can get 2 wins this playoffs coming around this playoff. I don't know about getting past that, but at
I
least
mean, it all depends on like how the playoffs are formatted in
lined
terms
up.
of who you got to play because matchups are everything. And I
Absolutely.
forgot to mention one other team because they got 3 big games the rest of the season. All of them are at home, as I mentioned, 49ers,
Mhm.
Cincinnati, and they do have a game against Baltimore right before Christmas. Those are the 3 biggest games left on their schedule, but all of those are in Jacksonville. Um, I think again, this is a situation of a young team who getting that playoff win last year, the continued growth, learning to play with expectations. As you mentioned, a lot of people thought they were going to be really good right out the gate. They struggled a little bit. They had that really bad loss to the Texans that no
Mhm.
one saw coming. And then they've been hot ever since. And now I think they're starting to find their balance. Travis Etienne, I'm willing to have this debate with anybody, Trip.
Aye.
I think he's the top 5 running back right now. I think he has ascended into the top 5 status in the league because the plays he makes, not only as a running back, but as a receiver and as a pass blocker, there aren't too many guys that you can leave on the field and trust that no matter what play we call, he's going to do the right thing. Travis Etienne is one of those guys.
Exactly. And my fantasy football team can prove that because he's been helping me out a lot this season as well, climbing the ladder. I will say this: there are 2 other games on that schedule that can be very tricky because we don't know what you're going to get from this team on any day. But I will say this: and big shout out to Will Levi, who made his debut for the Titans and threw 4 touchdowns in his debut. Had D Hop looking like young D Hop out there with 155 yards receiving. Did he have 2 touchdowns? I think it was at least 1 touchdown. He might
He
have
had
had two though.
three. He had three.
Excuse me,
Mhm.
excuse me. Let me put some respect on your name,
Put
D
some
Hop.
respect on his name.
Let me do that right now. But yeah, but if you run into that Titans team with Derrick Henry playing the way he was playing, D Hop looking well, and that young quarterback, balling out of control like that, those 2 games could be tricky. Plus, those are division games too, so those are always up and down anyway. Um, huh, Mister, come on,
Shout out to Gary. Shout out to Gary.
say how about the
That's
Ricky Tennessee, Mister Mayo?
shout out to Gary. That's one of the guys right there. That's one of the guys right there.
But yeah, if they run into that team, it may be a little bit of an issue. So I'd just be aware of that. But ultimately, I think the Jags are gonna make the playoffs. And I think that they're gonna do well. D Hop with 3 touchdowns on 4 catches is wild as
You
well.
know that's a Randy Moss number. Remember when Randy Moss had 3 catches for 3 touchdowns on Thanksgiving? That's all.
Mhm.
Randy was like, just I'm just catching touchdowns today. Don't send me on no regular routes. It got to be to the
That's
house.
what
That's it.
that's
Yeah,
it.
it got to be house calls. That's it.
Shout out to Gary. I'm gonna just take Kyrie's comment really quick. I'm just gonna answer it, and then we're gonna jump into the NBA. Y'all boy Gene, I just seen another interview clip with Art of Dialogue and still talking about Puffy Trip. I know it's your boy, but when does he say, okay, I said it all, now move on? I enjoy them, but I'm just asking. He says, it's enough is enough, and I'll move on when the checks stop coming in, brother. That's simple mathematics. The math is mathing on that. So as long as cats want to hear that story and they're gonna put a dollar amount behind it, hey, it is what it is. I don't know if I could say this one right now that he's about to do, but I guess I could say this. He's about to be featured on another documentary about another bad boy artist that has some troubles along the way, which could be every bad boy artist. So I'm not really giving anything away from that era anyway. So I'm not really giving too much away, but be on the lookout when you see Big Gene featured in another big documentary. I don't think I could say the network is going to be on just yet. But when you see that, just know I told y'all here first that he was going to be on that documentary. Oh, and if you haven't already, make sure y'all check out the clip I posted up on the channel. Gene actually stopped by last week and he gave us an exclusive. He addressed the Mace's comments on It Is What It Is show with him and Cameron, where he's talking about Gene helping him out from them 70 Bloods that had him trapped in the hotel. So if you guys haven't already, hit up the YouTube channel and run the numbers up on that video for us, man. Tell a friend to tell a friend. I think about 500 people checked it out already. So y'all run the numbers up on that, man.
That's a fact. I
Again,
gotta check it out. And I always say this, bro. Like we asking Gene to stop talking about what might have been like the most traumatic night of his life, bro. Like,
yeah,
let's not forget, like Gene was there that night when it all went down. Uh Gene, who knows how Gene's life would have been different if he would have been in that car with Big. When they leaving the war, when they leaving the party that night and they all trying to figure out whose car they gonna get in this and the third. And Gene has told us so many times how he advised the driver of Big's car to just, we running every light because we got to get out of it because there was a madhouse outside of the party of the venue. So I think it's unfair for us to criticize Gene like, oh, why he's still talking about this? Because we as hip hop fans, we still talking about it. We still
yeah.
want to know what happened that night, but we don't want Gene to talk about it. So, like, let's be fair, bro. He dealt with something so traumatic that night. This is his opportunity to vent. Let him vent, man. Let him get to it.
And he was actually there. We all talking about it. We wasn't nowhere near around it.
We
You
wasn't
know what I'm
around it.
saying?
And remember, Gene, and one of the great things about my experience with meeting Gene and being able to speak to Gene, he detailed. We talked so many things off camera. He's detailed to us, Trip, about the conversations he had with Big leading up to that night. Like he was around Big many times, but specifically that whole week they were together in Cali leading up to that night. So, it's got to be a bit of survivor's remorse as well. Like knowing, what could have been prevented, what I could have done differently. This was his job. He was security. He was the security detail, and that happens on your watch. I don't know if you could ever just live that down and just walk away from it.
That's tough. Because again, he's like you said, he's dealing with the trauma just like everybody else, and
Right.
he's right in the mix of the trauma. And when you take into account the fact that he's trying to warn everybody involved that something is going to happen, we
Hmm.
do not need to be here, and then no one listens, and someone winds up dying, and that being big. That's a lot to, what I'm saying, to have to endure. And then people want to hear about this over and over and over again for, I mean, what, 20 plus years now,
Hmm.
you know?
And
So,
one of the sit downs that we had, I know it's up on the page, Trip. Uh, Gene details that first conversation with Miss Wallace.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I don't
So,
know how I would handle that, but for anybody to have to speak to somebody's mom after they lose their child and you were head of security, that type of trauma, I don't know if he could ever get over that trauma. I don't think you could just ever just let that go. So
yeah.
maybe this is just his way of venting.
Yeah. And he shouldn't even been the one that was having that
Nope.
conversation with Miss Wallace. That should have been a conversation that Puff should have went to her directly and had that conversation with, not Gene.
Right.
But it is what it is. Shout out to Gene. Check out that exclusive. He talked, like I said, he confirms that he did save Mace from. Well, he didn't say he didn't see 70 Bloods when he got there, but we don't know what Mace saw before Gene got there. He also details two other times that he saved Mace's life that week, actually out there in LA. So y'all check that clip out. I'm gonna post a little clip from it on the Real Fans Real Talk Instagram. So make sure y'all following us on Instagram and Twitter at Real Fan Talk, facebook.com/Real Fans Real Talk. And of course, subscribe to that YouTube channel, youtube.com/ For the Fans Productions. With
Hmm.
that being said, let's jump into this NBA talk. I'm gonna start out with Hoopballer Scoops question. Can we get it up here on the screen? I don't know if it's not comment, not trying to post up to the screen. Okay, there we go. All right. I feel wrong asking to judge someone after just 2 or 3 games, but I'm asking LOL, how was Wimby look to you all in his first week of hoops? To me, it's gonna take time to judge him 20 games in, but he is skilled, but has to get stronger, no doubt. How you gonna say he don't want us? It's too early to judge, and he ain't gonna. All right, bad. Shout out to Hoop Baller Scoop. I like what I've seen from Wimby so far. 15.7 points, 7.3 rebounds to start the season off. I know obviously Tim Duncan is Tim Duncan, but I know they were talking about his numbers to start the season and Wemby's numbers, and they were pretty similar to Tim Duncan. Obviously he's a little bit more athletic than Tim Duncan was, and I would say he's a better shooter than Tim Duncan was. But again,
You
three
gotta
games
relax. You
is
gotta
not
relax.
really. Well, I'm just saying because he can shoot the three.
You gotta
Because
relax.
but 3 games is not really enough to say anything about anybody in the NBA. Realistically, like that's not enough. But I'll take 15 and 7 rebounds. To start your career off. I'll take that as a rookie.
I think he's looked amazing. His ability to impact both sides of the court has already been felt. He's got 5 blocks through 3 games. Yeah, the points are going to come and go, but that's expected. Most rookies are trying to figure out not only the physicality but the athleticism of the NBA
Yes.
game. So he's going to have moments where he may be overthinking. Then he's going to have other moments where his own athleticism is just going to take over and he's going to produce. But I think that we just got to give him time. We got to remember, over in Europe, he was only playing about 40 games a season, 40 to 50 games a season. This is an 82-game season. It is a grind. The physicality is different. The schematics and the way teams are gearing up to stop him are different. You come in as the #1 overall pick. You're the face of the franchise. You're the guy everybody wants to see, and everybody expects you to be perfect every night. That's not going to happen. But again, his ability to affect the game on both sides of the court, to me, is what's amazing. He doesn't allow the fact that maybe he might have an off night shooting to stop him from rebounding and getting block shots. So Wimby is going to be just fine. It's going to be a great rookie season for him, and he's going to have some peaks and valleys. Some nights he's going to look great offensively. Other nights he may only give you 11 points like he did yesterday. Overall, it's going to be a great rookie season.
Oh, and guess what? He only has one of the greatest coaches of all time,
It's a
and
fact.
Greg Popovich, who's coached previously two of the best big men to play in the NBA with Tim Duncan and David Robinson. So I think he's got a little edge in the coaching department as well. So yeah, as long as he stays healthy, I think Wemby is gonna be fine. Um, I think we'll be talking about him as rookie of the year at the end of this season. Shout out to Chet Holmgren, but I just think Wemby is going to wind up being rookie of the year, and he'll be good ultimately. But he does need to get his weight up. Again, reminds me a lot of Kevin Garnett. When he had the slim frame coming in, and then when he got a little bit of weight on him, added a little bit of muscle. That's when he turned into the big ticket. Same thing with Kevin Durant. He came in the league very slim, got his little weight. I mean, he's still the Slim Reaper, but he still put a little bit of weight on from his earlier years in the league. And then, we saw what those guys have done. Wimby has that potential. Now he just has to go out and show and prove, and I think he'll be good.
Yeah, that's a fact.
All right, we're going to Ron. Magic Johnson becomes a billionaire, joins Jordan Braun and Tiger Woods. So congrats on that. Yes, congrats to the greatest point guards ever played the game in Magic Johnson on becoming only the fourth sports billionaire. Period. And it's crazy to me. It's really weird seeing that LeBron is up there and he's still playing right now. It's just a testament to his business acumen, because to be a billionaire and you're still playing your sport and better than a lot of people that are in the league right now, it's crazy. So shout out to all four of those guys. Shout out to them, man. Because becoming a billionaire ain't easy.
Shout out to Magic. The things that he's done as a businessman are amazing. The only thing left for him to do is fire Ron Rivera as the head coach of the Commanders, and get Eric Bieniemy in. That's the only thing left. But shout out to Magic.
Riverboat Ron, that's your
I
guy.
don't. That's Will Gordon's guy. Me and Will, we've had ever since Cliff Kingsbury's been fired. I think we both agree that Ron might be the worst
Next,
coach.
he's next. Wait, nah. Will might think it's
Brandon Staley, you're right. You're right. Brandon Staley or Josh McDaniel, they
Let's
probably got the
close,
inside
close
track.
second. Let's
Right,
close second.
right.
All right, let's since we talking Magic, we might as well go straight to Kyrie's comment here. Lakers are 1-2 so far with losses to Nuggets and last night to the Kings in OT. Yo, Austin Reeves look a mess, and the guard from the Heat can't shoot. Was it yeah.
Gabe
Oh no,
Vincent.
Gabe Vincent. There you go, Gabe Vincent. Yeah, guys got to step up. That's it. I mean, I think back to back nights, Anthony Davis had great games after that. After he had a poor performance versus Denver in the opener, but back to back he has great games. LeBron has been consistent. The rest of those guys got to step up. It is what it is. Because at the end of the day, you shouldn't even be close in a game in Phoenix where it's pretty much just Kevin Durant.
Right.
Y'all should have been able to run away with that, but guys were just not making shots. Same thing with the Kings. I know the Kings are legitimate now. They are a playoff team. But I just think if Anthony Davis is dominating, the rest of those guys gotta show and prove. Like you can't get back to back 30-point nights from AD, and the guys, the supporting players are not doing their job. You're not gonna win basketball games like that. You're not gonna go on deep runs like that. And wow, since we are talking about that Kings game last night, Darren Fox is going to be out for a little while. He had a ankle injury in that game as well.
Yeah, I mean, if you're the Lakers, the most troubling thing is the defense. Defense got to be a little better, but it's still very early in the season. I think Gabe Vincent will figure it out. Austin Reeves, 1 for 12 last night. That's tough. That's a guy that you're paying to be better and be more consistent. But it's still very early in the season. The Lakers looked like trash for the first half of last year and then really turned it on in the second half. I'm not saying that's exactly what they're going to do, but let's give it about 10 games, 10 to 15 games before we really judge where the Lakers stand, because I think they're going to be fine. And we can't forget, the Kings were not only a playoff team last year, the Kings went 7 games with the Warriors. So the Kings are a pretty good team. So if you're telling me your 2 losses are to the Nuggets and the Kings in overtime, those aren't bad losses. Those are pretty good teams.
Yeah. Now, if you lost, what I'm saying, to the Wizards or the
Yeah.
Hornets or something
Ain't
like
nobody
that,
ain't Trip,
hey,
ain't nobody losing to the Wizards. Ain't nobody.
well, they got Jordan Poole now.
What that mean?
All right, my bad, my bad. I'm gonna go on
I,
to
I'm
the
just
next.
yeah, I'm just saying I watched a little bit of the Wizards. I'm like, yo, I don't know what the hell they doing over there. But
I'm
it
gonna,
ain't too many teams gonna be losing to the Wizards this year.
oh, listen, you would know better than me, so I'm just gonna take your word for it.
Ain't too many teams losing to the Wizards.
Shout out to Imani Williams. The Warriors are looking nice so far. The Chris Paul fit is perfect. He brings a common effect where he don't turn the ball over like Poole. But when is Stephen Curry ever gonna slow down? Chris Paul did look good, other than him missing like 33s the other night. But outside of that, yes. And he is going to be coming off the bench for the first time in his career. So I'm interested to see how that looks. As far as Steph Curry slowing down, I don't know, man. They don't no time soon. I can tell you that much. I can't give you a date, but I'm gonna say no time soon.
Yeah, Steph ain't slowing down, man. Shout out to him. Chris Paul has looked good there, and I think the Warriors overall have figured some things out. Again, the season, we got to let a little bit more of the season come about, because as there's more film, teams will figure out how to slow down the the offense when Chris Paul is running it, I should say. I still think the Warriors have a move in them to upgrade this roster, but it's a great start for them. And shout out to Chris Paul. I hope he can stay healthy. That's the most important thing.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it is, because we all know that health is going to play a big part in a lot of these teams. We see what's been going on with the Suns. Bill injured to start the season, then Booker winds up having to miss a game, the game versus the Lakers. One of the things that we talked about, and with our concerns about the Phoenix Suns, was the that pretty much their core four are all injury prone players. So guys got to stay healthy. Let me go to Dion Hoops page's comment. Dim, oh, I can't get it.
I said really quickly while you bring that comment up, you mentioned the Wizards. Just to give you a heads up, they're losing 75-49 in the
But
second
Poole
quarter.
gotta have 40 though by now, right?
Poole's the only one playing well. He's 4 of 6 right now. Kuzma's all right too. Jalen Brown has hit 7 threes in the first half against the Wizards.
Wasn't that they the team that was like had a fashion show or something like that?
I don't know, but when you're down 24 points in the first, when the team puts up 75 points in the first half,
Yeah, that's ugly.
it's this is almost like when Duke is playing Duquesne in like that first game of the season.
Yeah,
You know
right.
that opening night game. Like, yeah, it's
It's a homecoming game.
Boston might drop 150 tonight. They looking like they dropping 150 points tonight.
Jeez, that's crazy. All right, let's go to the Hoops page. Denver Nuggets 3-0. I don't think Bruce Barron and Uncle Jeff's loss will hurt them like some thought. The white boy from Kansas is more than capable, and if Michael Porter Jr.'s game rises, but someone said to me, "No, he don't need to do much with Nuggets. Just play his role." I mean, eventually he is going to need to elevate his. I mean, I would hope you're going to elevate some because right now you're not even an All Star caliber player. And Michael Porter Jr. was, prior to the back injury, was someone that was projected to be the number one overall draft pick. Obviously, the injuries kind of pushed him back, but at some point, I would think you're going to level up to at least get to maybe if not 6 man of the year talent, but to all-star game talent, somewhere on the scale, he should be improving. This is what his fourth year now, fifth year, if I'm not mistaken.
6 year.
Okay, 6 years. So you're gonna be coming into your prime soon. At some point, you should elevate your game. If not, then we're just gonna be looking at you as a role player for your
Yeah, I
career.
mean, I think MPJ will elevate his game a little bit more. He's more importantly, he's just got to become more consistent. But the Bruce Brown move will hurt them. It's going to come back because Bruce Brown was a guy who gave them versatility on both sides and also allowed them to play small ball because of how many guys he could defend. So I just because they're 3-0, let's not say, oh, they don't miss Bruce Brown. They're gonna miss him. There's gonna come a point where you're gonna start to see his presence not being there, and with that changes. Jeff Green, yeah, Jeff Green was a little older. He was more of a veteran presence off the bench. You could live without that. Bruce Brown, I think that's one that they're gonna feel a little bit more. And MPJ, the bigger question is gonna be not just about can he elevate his game, again, just being consistent, because there's going to be some nights where he only gets 5 or 6 shots, and those are the nights he still has to make his presence felt. That's what I want to see from him.
Absolutely, absolutely. Let me just throw Kevin Ford's question up here. Well, his comment rather. Darren Fox is a problem, fellas. They lost to the Warriors and Curry went off, but Fox killed the Lakers last night. He's gonna miss some games with the ankle. We mentioned that. But talk to me about his growth and as a player. He's getting better every year. He's doing what I'm saying guys are supposed to do, elevate their game every season. I think he's getting into being a legit all-star hopeful. I think he's getting into that tier now of players leading that team to the playoffs last year, and I think he's going to continue to improve.
He's going to continue to improve. Correct me if I'm wrong. I believe he was an All NBA guy last year. So his growth, we're starting to see the results of that growth. The league is paying attention. But more importantly, I think when they traded Halliburton, I wasn't a fan of the trade, but it was almost like the organization's way of saying, look, this is all you now. There is no competition. It's your show. And he's elevated. Everyone else is falling in line, and he's starting to become the player we thought he was when he came out of Kentucky. So I really like De'Aaron Fox's game as well.
Yeah, he's definitely one of them ones. He's definitely one of them ones. Let's talk about it, Hoops Nation. I guess the biggest move of the offseason, we got a little sample. Bucks looked amazing in the home opener. Then last night got smashed at home by the Atlanta Hawks. It's no big deal, but was a shocker. They got heat tonight. People don't realize these teams got to have time to get used to each other. You said it right there. And Eric, you mentioned it earlier when we were talking about the Chiefs and that Broncos game where teams kind of look past certain teams.
Mhm.
I think this is a situation with that because I I don't see the Atlanta Hawks legitimately competing with this Bucks team. Obviously, there's going to be chemistry issues that can only be dealt with by playing. But I think the Bucks are going to be really good this season. I think we should look at them more so of what they did in that first game. I think that's going to be more of what the Bucks will be this season, as opposed to being more like that loss to Atlanta.
Yeah, I mean, let's be real. In a 7 game series, I think the Bucks would take care of the Hawks pretty easily. But on a night to night basis, these are the things that are going to happen. Also, Dame is still trying to find his way with this team. when you're the new guy, when you're the big name and the big acquisition, you don't want to kind of ruffle feathers and just come in and start just taking your shots and doing what you did on your previous team because it is Giannis's team. So he's got to play better. I think he bounces back tonight and will play better. The Bucks will figure it out, but we got to give him some time. This is a first-year head coach, first-time head coach, I should say, with a big name acquisition like Dame Lillard, and there's some vets there that are still trying to figure out their way and their role. So the Bucks will be fine. Give them about 10 to 15 games, and I think we'll see them really start to get rolling.
Absolutely. Kevin Ford, Boston Celtics haven't missed a beat. I like their pieces. Yes. They haven't missed a beat. I think the difference between the Bucks and the Celtics is that the guys that the Celtics brought in are easier to incorporate into the system than to bring in a superstar like Dame Lillard. I think that changes the schematics of what the Bucks are going to do this season. So it's going to take them a little time to really hit that consistent stride. With the Celtics though, a guy like Drew Holiday is somebody that you can kind of just plug in and play. Same thing with Porzingis, because again, now you're talking about these two guys being the third and fourth options, as opposed to Dame going to the Bucks and possibly being a number one option. I mean,
Hmm.
Giannis already said it's Dame's team now. You know what I mean? So I
Hmm.
think that's the difference. But yeah, I can't take anything away from the Celtics. They look great to start the season, and they're going to because they're a team that we did pick to go to the Eastern Conference Finals at least.
Yeah, this question, and I think this kind of goes hand in hand with my answer for Will Gordon's question as well, because Will put who's the best team in the East. For me, is Boston. I love the way the pieces have kind of integrated themselves. As you mentioned, Holiday is a low maintenance guy. He doesn't need a lot of shots to be an impactful guy. And Boston already has that continuity, and they just integrated guys who I think fit perfectly. You see how Porzingis has played so well off the ball and off of Brown and Tatum. Holiday is another guy. The Boston Celtics to me are the best team in the East. I love their pieces, and I think they're just going to get more dangerous as the season goes on, and these guys play more and more together.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I'm looking forward to it, man. I'm glad basketball is back, man.
I love it.
I'm I'm happy about it. I'm about to start getting into. I'm about to make my switch now from Madden to 2K. So I'm excited. Hey, listen, I like to space my time. I like to wait until the season starts for 2K because it don't be enough time between when Madden drops and when 2K drops for me to really get wrecking Madden like that before I get into my players. So now I done did a couple of seasons now with the story mode on Madden. So now I'm good. I can get into back to my player on NBA 2K. Let me see what's next over here.
Shout out to Ryan. I see his question. He comment. He must be talking about you because he ain't talking about me on that.
Said I will. Nah, I'm gonna put this comment on the screen because it just don't make no sense when he said it. But Ryan is my bro, so I love it.
He directing that at you. He ain't talking to me because I
Shout out to Ryan, man. It's good to have you rocking with us. I know it's nighttime, man. I'm glad you rocking with us tonight, man. All right, let me go to where we at.
not
Uh,
happening, Ryan. I promise you, it's not happening. It'll get bad real quick.
hype ball of hoops. Big game tonight. Golden State Warriors, New Orleans Pelicans. If Warriors win this, on a back to back, that will tell me something. Remember last year they didn't get their first road win until November 20th. Fella Zion Williamson been dominant. He is special when healthy. The problem is he is hurt more than he is healthy.
Yep.
But I do agree when he is healthy, he can be dominant. He is definitely an all-star when he's healthy. But again, that's the big problem is we don't know how long he's going to stay healthy. I think it's gonna be a good game tonight, Warriors versus Pelicans. Um, a good test for both of these teams, really, because both teams, have looked good to start the season off. So I'd like to see where things are. And you're right, they didn't get that first road win until November. They were pretty banged up though at this point to start the season off last year as well. So I wouldn't put too much on that. But I think it's gonna be a good test. And again, I said it earlier. I'm looking forward to seeing how Chris Paul does playing with the second unit.
Yeah, I think the Warriors are going to be better on the road this year than they were last year. The key part of this whole comment and question from Highball to Scoop is when healthy. Williamson, we know that already. When healthy, yes, absolutely. He is one of the top 15 guys in the league. He can dominate on that level, but he's rarely healthy. I believe last year, before he got injured, the Pelicans were looking like a top three team in the West. And then
Yeah.
he got hurt, and then the wheels fell off. So I got distracted, Trip, right now because we got a comment from somebody that we ain't seen in here in a minute.
Oh, drunk is in
Yeah,
the
yeah,
building.
yeah, yeah. We ain't seen drunk in here in a minute. It threw me off. But to this though, hype baller scoop. I think Golden State. I think they lose tonight. I expect the Pelicans to win tonight, but that does not mean that the Warriors are going to fade. The Warriors are going to be very good, and for the Pelicans, Zion's got to be healthy for at least 65 games.
Facts. Drunk, what up? We're gonna get into that topic in just a minute. We got two topics for when we get to the messy petty section of the show. Shout out to Imani. We still gonna get to your other comment as well. I have not forgotten about you. All right. Let me start running through these comments though, because it's almost game time. So let me go to let me see. I'm gonna go to Hoop Baller Scoops comment here really quick. NBA announced a multi-year partnership with Kim K Skins, making it the official underwear partner. Aiden Amazing. She went from a sex tape to
These are our supporters, Trip.
yeah. I don't even know what to say to this one, but I guess congratulations to her. Um,
Um,
but shout out to Kim because Kim K been doing her thing.
yeah,
Working on helping the brothers out with their legal issues. So, shout out to Kim K. Good for her. Listen,
yeah,
I'd rather see her than Taylor Swift every week at the damn Chiefs game,
that's
8
a
million
fact.
times a day. Because I'm not even, that's not really my thing. I'd say, I'm more of a Kim K than Taylor Swift kind of a guy. But that's neither here nor there.
Nah,
You
that's
know,
a fact. I never want to miss an opportunity to reference a Jay-Z line, but you can't knock the hustle. So, whatever Kim K did to get to this point, she hustled. She made it work. She took advantage of her opportunity. However you feel about it, she ain't the only woman that's ever been on a sex tape. She just capitalized on it the best. So shout
exactly.
out to her.
All right, so let me go to Ron's comment, and then we're gonna get to the messy petty section of the show. Luca put on a show this weekend too. Can the Mavs be a top 5 team in the West? I see Kyrie Irving out tonight. They got to show me if they can be a top 5 team in the West because what I saw last season wasn't it. So they got a lot to prove this coming season. That's not to take away from Luca because we know who Luca is, and that's definitely not to take away from Kyrie because we know who Kyrie Irving is. But as a team, the Dallas Mavericks have to show improve. And this we talking about the Western Conference even though Memphis probably won't be there just because of the way they're starting off the season 0-3, and John Morant's got a long way to go, and they lost Steven Adams for the season. So that's one team that's out, but the West is still very, very competitive. Um, to be honest with you, I don't look at them as better than the Kings right now. I don't look at them as a team that's better than the Lakers, better than the Nuggets, better than the Warriors, better who else is in the West?
The Suns.
Suns.
Yeah.
So they got to show improve.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see them as a top five team. They should be a playoff team. We thought they were going to be a playoff team last year, but
Yeah.
top five, no. Again, the teams you mentioned, Nuggets, Suns, Lakers, Warriors, Kings are all better. And then on the next tier of teams, we haven't mentioned Memphis once they get their team together. We haven't mentioned a team that I really like in OKC, who was a playoff team last year. And
Yep.
then if we're going to use the phrase when healthy, they're not better than the Clippers when healthy.
Oh,
So,
definitely not better.
yeah, yeah. And so now we've already mentioned about 7 or 8 teams that we feel are better than the Mavs. And then also to use when healthy, Kyrie, I believe, is sitting out tonight. So, and Ron actually mentioned that there. So that's another part of it too.
Exactly. Shout out to Imani. I know you've been waiting, but here we go. This is officially.
Here
I
we
gotta get a
go.
sound effect for the messy petty club. Let me see something. Hold on. Let me see if we got a sound effect for the messy petty club. That's All right, there you go. That's for the messy petty section of the show. I gotta hear your thoughts on the recent Dwight Howard saga. LOL. The details are unreal. It's crazy. And I guess it's court papers that Dwight has admitted this. Just give a few minutes on it overall. I'm just going to first and foremost, Imani, I'm going to start my response by saying pause now and getting it out the way. Um, again, this is super messy with Dwight Howard. I, I hope nobody is out here taking advantage of anybody, but I think it's kind of scary if it's a 6'10" dude who's brolic. You know, I I don't judge nobody or how they live their life, but you know what I'm saying. I'm wondering is this the reason why he hasn't been signed by an NBA team yet?
I don't know if this is why he hasn't been signed. I won't go that far. I just think it's crazy, Trip, that you said I'm gonna say pause and you said I'm gonna get this out the way. That's a pause in itself. Like it's a lot going on there. Pause.
That's
But
what
nah. Um, I don't think this is
I'm-
I don't think that this is why he's not in the NBA. We got to remember that Dwight wasn't really a favorite amongst NBA circles when he was in the league. He was a guy who was viewed as immature and a guy that felt like kind of like he was a little selfish. So he didn't have a lot of supporters within the league already. He was already playing in China before we knew about this. Uh, Shout out to Drunk because I was gonna say this too. I think most of us who were in tune, I was gonna say in touch, but then that would have been a pause. In tune with the NBA, already kind of felt that the White had been gay anyway. Some of his behavior, some of his behavior was suspect before all this. So
yeah,
I don't think we're really surprised by any of it. Um, I think the craziest part of everything he said though was like when he admitted to inviting the dude over, but it was like, but it wasn't for the threesome. But then it's like, but you had the transgender in the crib, so what you was inviting dude over for?
yeah. And then he also had a couple of years ago. He had another story about him and the trans
Yeah,
woman as well. So
and
this is not the first time.
I think one of his baby moms who was on Love and Hip Hop had been saying this years ago about him too.
Yeah,
So now it's kind of like coming full circle, pause, where we see all the things that we have been hearing about beforehand. Um, I don't want to say shocked. I don't think I was shocked, and I don't think this is why he's not in the league. He's just not in the league because he wasn't a fan favorite or a favorite amongst NBA circles, I should say.
yeah. I gotta say this really quick, and Eric, I don't mean to be hurtful towards you, but I gotta post this comment by Ryan. The Knicks are going to the finals, and I'm just wondering, whatever he's smoking,
Ugh,
I want because whatever made him say that is just crazy. I don't know about that one, but again, shout out to Ryan.
I love your enthusiasm, Ryan. I can't support that message, but I love your enthusiasm.
Exactly. Um, oh, let me go to Drunk's other comment here, and then we're gonna get ready to wrap things up, guys. Let me just make sure if I'm missing if there's anything else. All right. Joe Smith, wife is the reason I'm never getting married. Fake or not, I don't want to be in. It's definitely not fake because I watched the video. She had him on live. Because he was mad at her for starting the OnlyFans page up and not telling him that she was doing it. I want to give both sides to the spectrum on this though, because I do in one sense, I feel like as his if you're married and you doing the OnlyFans, especially if you're doing something strange for a piece of change, then that's a conversation that you need to have with your husband. Now, at the same time, and not that because I don't be getting into people's finances like that. I don't care about how much you make and all of that. But I will say this: Joe Smith has been dealing with some financial troubles the past couple of years, to where he owes a lot of money to the IRS and on different properties and cars and things like that. And I think they were saying he was making like 26K a year coaching, and he's like at 100,000 in debt still a year. So she took the initiative to help out, and that's one of the things she was saying. So I mean, can you be too mad if she was just trying to help keep the lights on? And she, especially if you knew that's who she was before y'all got married, and you chose to still marry her, you can't really be too mad in the situation because at the end of the day, she's trying to help hold down the family.
So I respect everything you just said, Trip. The only part of that I gotta be like, nah, I can't rock with that is if this was your way of trying to help out the family, then why were you doing it like in a secret way? Why wouldn't you have just let it be known from jump? Like, all right, so this is what I'm gonna do. We in financial troubles. This is what I'm gonna do. You know what I'm saying? Um, and then for her to record him again to Drunk's point, whether fake or not, her to record his reaction to it also spoke to a little something different to me because it's like now you trying to go viral off this.
Yeah.
Like you're doing the OnlyFans, you know your husband's mad about it, so now you're gonna secretly record his reaction to get a response from people. So to me, this doesn't speak to I'm trying to help the family out. This speaks to I want my moment in the sun now. I want to be a basketball wife. I want to be somebody who people know for going viral and not just being Joe Smith's wife. That's what it looks like to me.
Let me throw Joe Simon up there. Imagine making 60 mil and your wife saying that's not enough. I'm getting naked for money. He doesn't have 60 million anymore. He blew through that money. If you and now obviously I don't know so if everybody's net worth is right, but I think his when I looked it up, his net worth was at like $100,000. So yeah, 60 million is a lot if you got it, but I don't think he has $60 million right now. He made a lot of bad investments during his career, so he's not at 60 million anymore.
No, no.
She probably wouldn't have had OnlyFans if he was doing 60 million, if he had 60 million still, because her life would be different, and she wouldn't be putting that in jeopardy just to make a OnlyFans page.
Yeah.
But
Unfortunately, we live in a society now, with trash TV, with the reality TV and you know, standing next to a celebrity can make you famous, that people do things like this to become famous. Her and Joe, whatever's going on in your personal life, that's arguments y'all have within your home, man. You don't do an OnlyFans and then record his reaction to it.
yeah. Yeah, that's the part that is like, all right, you know what I'm saying? You clout chasing a little bit. You know what I'm saying? So I definitely get that. I mean, whether he blew through his cash or not, he ain't got it right now. So she said, I'm just gonna do my part. How Cat Williams say, we gonna you you gonna suck some and we're gonna take over the whole Stone Mountain. So that's what she was trying to do. And she's trying to help out. She's trying to do her part. Let me see what Jean said. Call me crazy. I feel like Joe was an okay. This I don't know. Um, I'm not sure what you're trying to say there, John. Could you put how you got that up there? I don't know. Call me crazy if I feel like Joe was in okay. This I don't know. I'm not drunk. You sipping? I'm gonna need you to fix these comments up here. There was one other one I seen that I wanted to post up. When I find it, I'll put it. Oh, really quick before we get up out of here, there was one question I wanted to get to. Hoop Baller Scoop, the question that he had on his Facebook page, which was, "Do you feel sorry for Mikey Williams?" Um, the reason why I wanted to get into that because my answer is split because I do feel sorry for him because that's a young black man who potentially just threw his entire life away. Um, but I do feel sorry for him because I understand where he's from. And I understand the pressures that come a lot of times. And sometimes young kids feel like they have to do certain things that we normally wouldn't do if we didn't grow up in certain environments. So from that standpoint, I do feel sorry for him, but we have to make better decisions and we have to hold ourselves accountable. And at the end of the day, when you know the potential that you have, there's got to be other ways that you can come up with to handle your issues.
I personally feel sorry for him because I get the impression that he's a young man trying to live up to an image of the environment that he's from, as opposed to just being a young man who can live his life and be true to himself. Too often we talk so many times about this trip. Too often, people that come from our backgrounds, we make decisions based off what we think everyone else deems as acceptable. And
Mhm.
so his talent and his earning potential had him one place, but his environment and how he's viewed had him somewhere else. And so that's why I feel sorry for him. He's so young, bro. He's 17 years old. And
Yeah.
so I hope that this doesn't become a life defining moment where it all just falls apart and he's never the same. I hope that he's able, granted, whatever punishment he should get, I hope he gets, but I hope it's never is not too harsh to that it just ruins the rest of his life because he has a lot more life in front of him. So in that aspect, I do feel sorry for him.
Like I I would hate to see him get 28 years because that's not gonna help him
No,
improve whatever's going on with him. So
nope.
giving that kid 28 years is not gonna improve that. So I pray that that doesn't happen. And I hope that he can come back and have some type of life after after whatever consequences he has to endure. Lastly, boxing, another one of those BS fights, but Tyson Fury got a controversial decision over Francis Ngannou. Francis Ngannou got the knockdown early in the fight. It was pretty close the whole time. Did you think that that the fight should have went the other way, Eric?
I do. I went back and watched the fight. First of all, Tyson Fury, Tommy Fury, the father Fury, y'all should be ashamed of yourselves.
Yes, I agree.
Because y'all y'all fancy yourselves as this, fighting family and a long lineage of fighters. I seen your brother Tommy Fury struggle with two YouTubers who barely had 8 fights combined between them.
Hmm.
Jake Paul knocked down Tommy Fury. KSI just went to a split decision with Tommy Fury. These are guys who had never boxed up until like 3 years ago. And
Yeah.
you supposed to come from this boxing family. Tyson Fury, you fancy yourself as one of the greatest heavyweights of all time. Francis Ngannou, who was great as an MMA fighter, had never boxed a day in his life. He never even boxed as an amateur,
Hmm.
right? This isn't like when Floyd fought Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor had amateur boxing experience.
Yeah.
Conor McGregor just never went pro, but as an amateur, he boxed. Francis Ngannou did none of that. Francis Ngannou woke up out of bed 8 months ago and said, I feel like boxing, and started training, and somehow not only knocked you down, but he on one scorecard, he actually won the fight.
Yeah.
On another right, on another scorecard, you beat him by 1 round, but you supposed to be the Gypsy King. You supposed to be the best heavyweight in the world. You should
Yeah.
be ashamed of yourself. The family as a whole should be ashamed of themselves. I don't want to hear nothing about no Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury, you are a product of the current heavyweight division. The heavyweight division is weak. You're the best of that weak division. You're not an all-time great. Saturday night proved that.
Yeah. And we look at Tyson Fury as more of a technical boxer. So
Right,
I was
right.
surprised that he was able to knock you down and the fight was so close. I don't know what that second judge, I don't know what fight that second judge was watching because I, the third judge that had Tyson Fury winning by a point, I'll take that. I don't think this fight was 4 or 5 points apart. I just don't, especially not with Francis Ngannou getting the knockdown. I don't think this fight was that far apart on the point scales. Hold on. Let me think. Yeah, see, yep. This is the fight that made me realize boxing is truly rigged. I'll never be the same. Crazy thing is, the Fury Jake Paul fight was a controversial decision as well.
Mhm.
Because a
But
lot of people,
no, no, go ahead, Trip. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
as I said, a lot of people felt like Jake Paul won that fight. You know what I'm saying? So all these decisions where it's just like I don't know what's going on with the judges. I don't know if they wanted to make sure that the boxer won this fight because how bad would that look for the sport of boxing if Francis Ngannou comes into the heavyweight division and beats the champ Tyson Fury? That would look crazy. Who's currently still fighting and defending the title?
There was an aspect of that took place on Saturday night because the fight between Usyk and Fury has already been set.
Yeah,
And
that would be bad.
right, it would have been a terrible look for the sport of boxing if Tyson Fury loses this fight and now you're trying to promote the unification of the heavyweight division against Usyk. Also, Tyson Fury, when he beat Deontay Wilder in that third fight, you and I both said he's the best heavyweight in the world, and we didn't see anybody who could beat him.
Mhm.
And then as time went on, the one thing about this Francis Ngannou fight that changed my perception of what we said in the past was Tyson Fury was so much bigger, pause, than Deontay Wilder, not only height, but weight wise, right? When they
Mhm.
fought that third time, he outweighed him by like a good almost 50 pounds. You're
Yeah,
talking 270 to 220. Francis Ngannou was closer in weight and height to Tyson Fury than Deontay Wilder was. And we saw how much trouble he gave Tyson Fury. And it
yeah,
completely changed my perception because it's like, you know what? That was one of the aspects we overlooked. Tyson Fury is so much bigger than everybody else in the heavyweight division. Of course, it's easy to look like you're the man when you're outweighing everybody by 30 to 40 pounds every night and you're taller than everybody else. But
yeah,
now that we put you in the ring with somebody size-wise who's comparable, you struggle. Also, this Usyk fight has been in the works for over a year. And in the beginning, it seemed like Usyk didn't want to fight. But as we gotten closer, we see Fury doesn't really want to fight because Fury was on record before this fight as saying Usyk's got to sign the contract. We got to get ready to go. We want to do this fight right before Christmas.
yeah,
Now that Fury got exposed Saturday night, now Fury's the one who's saying, I don't know if we're gonna fight in December. You pushed the fight in December. You
yeah.
kept telling Usyk, let's fight. When Usyk was fighting a war for his country in Ukraine, you was putting the
Yeah.
pressure on him to sign the contract. Now that he signed the contract, now it's like, I don't know if we're gonna fight in December. Maybe we should wait till next year. Why? Because you feel you got exposed a little bit? No, you better fight in December because that's you keep continue to promote yourself as the best heavyweight in the world. So go prove it.
Exactly. That's one of the problems that I have with the heavyweight division because there's pretty much just no weight limits. Every other division, there's you're not welterweight, and then you got to fight guys 30 pounds bigger than you as a welterweight. You're not cruiser. You know what I'm saying? There's no other weight class where there could be that much of a difference in weight between the two fighters, other than the heavyweight division. So it's just like you better be doing that when you clearly are are bigger, taller, and size wise, you're the body mass, you're bigger than all the other fighters. But you really got exposed. I'm now I really want to see this fight with Usyk because you know Tyson Fury, you mess around,
Make
boy.
it happen. That's it. All right. That's it. Make it happen now.
Exactly. Oh, congratulations to Amanda Serrano. She defended her titles this past weekend as well. And I'm gonna actually shout out to Drunk, man. I'm gonna leave us off with Drunk's comment. My bad. Sometimes I get so drunk, I miss the stream. Y'all the goats. We appreciate you, Drunk. We missed you too, man. Even the supporters was like, yo, what's up? Where Drunk at, man? We need you here, baby. So big shout out to you. Big shout out to all the supporters as well. Thank y'all so much for keeping this thing interactive with us. Love all of the comments, love all of the questions. And we love putting on the show for you guys. Eric, hit us with a final thought, man.
As always, bro, we thank all of the supporters. You guys take the time to rock with us, sending the questions, comments. We greatly appreciate it, man. Y'all could be anywhere in the world, but y'all rocking with us, and we continue to look forward to entertaining you guys and interacting with you guys. Trip, we back next week. Hope everybody has a safe and happy Halloween. Go get that candy, but be safe while you're getting it. And I look forward to seeing you guys Friday night. We're gonna be back Friday night with more picks. The picks continue to hit. The tickets is cashing in. Trip. It's big money out here during this NFL season. Trip. I'm planning a vacation. I'm about to get out of here, man. I might record somewhere exotic pretty soon because it's a lot of money coming in right now, and I'm super excited with it.
How Jay Z said, I'm somewhere where no mosquitoes at.
Yeah, it's
Here we
getting
go.
crazy. The picks been picking, man.
Facts. Shout out to Will Gordon. Good
Shout out to
stuff.
Will for sure.
Definitely appreciate you. I'm gonna end it off on this. My final thought is, yo, man, if y'all haven't already, go check out my series Code 187. It's streaming right now on the Plug Network. Myself and my main man Eric Sanchez made our debut in episode 5. So y'all go check that out. And we're gonna be featured in a couple more episodes too. So y'all make sure y'all stay in the loop with that one. With that being said, make sure you guys are following us on all our social media: Instagram, Twitter at Real Fan Talk, Facebook.com/Real Fans Real Talk. And of course, subscribe to that YouTube channel, YouTube.com/For the Fans Productions. And if you're not in New York City and you can't watch us on Thursday nights on Verizon 43 from 8 to 9 p.m., all you got to do is go to the website, realfansrealtalk.com, click that red button on the homepage, and you can watch from anywhere in the world. Also, make sure y'all subscribe to the best two podcasts, period. The Sanchez Show and the Real Fans Real Talk podcast. With that being said, happy Halloween. We up out of here. Peace.